All right, now it is Sunday, so we quite like to have a look at fashion every once in a while.
We do indeed.
You might be in pyjamas still watching TV. We've got to dress up.
Well, who knows? That could be on the catwalks too. We don't rule that out.
Well, the 2017 menswear season has been launched in London, Paris and Milan, and amid the plaid and the acid wash, it appears Brexit, of course, has been on the minds of the fashion elite, with designers making their feelings known on the catwalk. Let's get more from our fashion writer, Patty Huntington. Patty?
Good morning. Good
well,
morning.
we can't avoid Brexit, can we? Now,
it's everywhere.
I mean, we actually saw this play out on the runways, didn't we?
We did. The London collections, menswear collections, were a couple of weeks ago, and the British fashion industry has been very pro-Remain, and the British Fashion Council actually conducted a poll of almost 300 British businesses, fashion businesses, and 90% were Remain. Some designers chose to do their bows at the end of their shows wearing like in t-shirts. Christopher Rayburn actually put the word in, incorporated it into his Spring 2017 collection. Well, of course, it's out, isn't it? So he should have actually hedged his bets.
Well, it's a collector's item now, you see.
Yeah. That's right. And of course, Instagram has been flooded with grieving from sort of the fashion industry. One of the most interesting, I think, is Vivienne Westwood, who of course is the godmother of punk. And she went through, punk was kind of born of the sort of the 70s turmoil and the recession and the riots, remember? And I know we're going to have riots in the UK, but she actually urged young Britons to register to vote before June 7, posted a photo of herself with a T-shirt saying, "Don't let an older generation decide your future," which of course is what's happened.
Yeah.
So, and then look, there's other reasons too why, with the decision, the British industry, the French fashion industry is very concerned because Britain is their 5th biggest market in terms of exports. They're concerned about the devaluation of the pound, their collections becoming more expensive, and of course, if tariffs are restored...
Well, that's the point, isn't it? Tariffs could make a huge impact on the industry.
Apparently outside the EU, it's 12%. So other people are saying it could actually be a boost for European brands because with the British pound and the euro devaluing, it makes it cheaper for Asians and Americans when they're shopping in Europe. So you've got to sort of, weigh up the...
Good for us, not for
Find
them.
a silver lining in there somewhere. That's what we've all been looking for, Patty, absolutely. But regardless, there has been fashion on the catwalks.
There has. Well,
in Europe.
Apart from this massive sweeping change,
That's
we've also had this this seismic shift in fashion, which we talked about before, with the move towards a consumer-facing fashion model, and also another thing that's happening is that more menswear brands are choosing to show their women's wear at the same time.
Interesting. So we're getting a blurring of fashion and gender, in fact, on the catwalk.
Well, they see it as an opportunity to promote both, and some of them are actually cancelling their separate women's wear shows, and they're going to show at a different time of the year. And of course, we've got Burberry, which did not show at all, and is actually showing its spring menswear and women's wear collections at the moment privately to retailers and to media, getting them to sign non-disclosure agreements, and then they're going to come out in September with a show that consumers can buy straight off the runway. So that's a big revolution. But yeah, the numbers have been down in London and Milan with brands not showing for various reasons, but there has been a lot of fashion on the runways, as you would expect during the season.
Well, let's talk about 2017.
Yes.
That's how far ahead they look, don't they? Activewear. What is it about activewear?
Everywhere.
Every time you're with us, you talk about activewear. Is that just taking over the whole fashion industry at the moment?
Well, yeah, it is a mega trend, and it was in so many different collections, whether it was sort of outdoor gear for trekking, hiking, camping. One collection had the whole thing was about sort of Boy Scouts. And we saw, also don't forget it's an Olympics year. Dirk Bickenbergs did an entire Olympic themed collection, and everywhere you looked there was, I thought it was interesting at Versace they had the bicycle shorts, so I'm not quite sure how they are going to sort of go outside the gym, but Andrew, perhaps you might want to consider that.
But we're just looking at some of the fashion here.
Bicycle shorts?
Yeah, so, this is gym wear you wear on the street. I don't know, you wouldn't wear it at the gym though, would you?
well, you'd be surprised what you see in the yoga studio and the gym, that's right. And the old school sort of retro sort of tracksuit tops and bottoms. It was probably the biggest trend of the season, and we also see it obviously in women's wear as well. And look, as we've discussed, you can't escape active wear. It's
the democratisation of fashion. It
is. And it's comfortable too, so that's handy. We were also talking last time we talked about activewear about whether or not it's fashion becoming more accessible, and I think I mentioned the crazy boots and shoes, and we saw some more of those. They are styling things for shows, but still, fashion sort of likes to be inaccessible in some cases with trends, and it's just for fashion people. We saw other trends as well. I mean, there was actually a big return to acid wash.
Everything old is new again. Acid wash.
That's right.
Goodness, that was so 80s, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Well, yeah. And we saw acid wash. I mean, we saw it in sort of denim. There's this movement towards destroyed denim, which I'm sure you've been seeing over the recent years. With we also saw that sort of in the denim collections. But another trend. I mean, we saw the evolution of trends that have been around for a while. We've talked about plaid. We've talked about military. I mean,
has plaid ever really been popular though?
Yeah, in menswear, I mean, it's one of those evergreen trends. I mean, that's Gucci. It's hilarious. He's not sure that's a guy
androgynous, isn't it?
I have to say, a friend of mine commented a lot about the Gucci collection this year on social media. It wasn't particularly favourable, but the collection is very eye-catching.
Incredibly eye-catching.
Yeah.
And this new creative director in the space of a couple of seasons has just revolutionised the Gucci brand. Were they talking about the menswear show or the resort show that they did inside Westminster Abbey?
Oh,
which
maybe
was a couple of weeks before, and that was the first time they'd ever shown. So yeah, I mean, it's gender fluid. You've got sort of women in menswear and men in things like pussy bow blouses and stuff, which you normally associate with women's wear, and then men and women at the same time on the runway. But yeah, plaid was everywhere. I thought it was interesting. We saw a lot of plaid short suits, so guys wearing plaid suits with shorts.
Don't think I'll be rushing out. But anyway, military. That's a recurrent theme too, comes and goes.
It has been, and I mean, we've talked about the sort of the cultural barometer factor, whether or not that returned when the world went to war, sort of in the Middle East, and some of the looks. I mean, they just look like. They just look like...
There's a lot of oversized shapes going on as well.
That is another trend.
Big shoulders.
And Balenciaga, which is another brand that's had a change of creative director, has had almost back to, in the 1950s when you had men's suits with these massive shoulder pads, oversized silhouettes. I mean, how practical they are, I don't think you're going to see them in anchors in a new studio.
No, you're probably not going
Watch
to.
this space.
That's right.
But do tell me, is there an Australian twist in what's happening there? Do we have any Australians making a bit of a spot for themselves?
We do, absolutely. And look, after becoming the first Australian menswear brand to be invited to show in the Paris runways for menswear last year, Melbourne duo behind the brand Strateas.Carlucci became the first Australians to be invited to show in Milan, and on Tuesday they showed their collection, which was very gender fluid and oversized. That's a very big signature for them. So they actually cut the same garment differently. They do the same garment differently for men and women.
Gender fluid.
Gender fluid, that's right. It's all about... Men and women can wear it, and I mean,
Are we going to swap places, Andrew? I don't know.
That's right.
Well, Patty could probably get away with what I'm wearing. I don't think I can get away with what Patty's wearing.
Well, you never know. Wait in a couple of years' time. And then the other big story is a very well-known, it's a 70-year-old brand called Brioni, which has dressed James Bond for many years, Italian luxury suit maker. They didn't show in Milan because they're going to do their big reveal of their new collection with their new creative director in Paris next month. And their new creative director is an Australian by the name of Justin O'Shea, who is a really interesting guy. He grew up in a sort of remote mining town in the Northern Territory, worked his way up through retail, was the fashion director of a major international online retailer called My Teresa for many years. And he has just been appointed the creative director of Brioni. Now, eyebrows were raised because he doesn't have any training, any design training whatsoever, but he does have almost 100,000 followers on Instagram.
Well,
and he looks like he's covered in tattoos. He looks like he's straight out of, the cast of Sons of Anarchy.
Yes.
But he knows his stuff, and he's got a big social media presence, and he's a voice in fashion. He's got a very glamorous girlfriend as well, Veronica Heilbrunner, and they are sort of amongst the most photographed couples in fashion. So, look, of course, Brioni would have designers and tailors, and he's really just doing the sort of overseeing. But that's a really big story in menswear, and it's Australian.
Australians shaking it up over there. Patty Huntington, always great to chat to you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.